Welcome to the MicroLife Café. I'm your host, Sarah from MicroLife Fertilizers. We're talking all things organic horticulture and beyond, so pull up a chair and pour up a cup with us. Today's conversation, we are getting real about organic farming in Houston. We're sitting down with someone who wears a lot of hats, an organic farmer and nonprofit leader deeply connected to both the land and the community. We'll talk about what it's like farming through Houston's extreme weather and ever-changing climate, and dig into the hard truth for the future of organic farming in Texas. Chaz, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Can you share with everybody what you do for a living?
So I'm Chaz Daughtry. I'm the owner of Sweetwater Farms, ACX. We are an organic urban farm in Houston, Texas that sits on 6 acres of land where we grow seasonal vegetables. We work with local restaurants. We also teach kids about agriculture as well, too. And we also have a nonprofit called Texas Women Empowerment Foundation that was started by my mother almost 21 years ago, where we teach kids about agriculture, we do financial literacy, we have our urban garden program, and we also just work with the community on special projects.
Awesome. That sounds really busy.
Yeah, it's kind of busy, keeps us busy, but it's also our passion.
So what are the plants you generally grow on your farm, and how do you distribute them across Houston?
So we grow seasonal plants. So whatever's seasonal in Houston, I would say in January right now would be more your leafy greens. So from your collard greens to your kale, your cabbages, your mustard greens, your collard greens, things like that. And so what we do is we grow those seasonal vegetables, and then when the season switches up for springtime, we switch those out. Currently, we sell at farmers markets in Houston, so we sell at 2 different ones. Then we also sell to local restaurants in the Houston area, and more like a 25-mile radius from our farm.
That's really cool. How do these restaurants hear about you guys, and how do you guys get in contact?
I think a lot of it is really word of mouth, just finding us from social media, Instagram, other chefs, working with knowing other chefs and saying, hey, we know Sweetwater Farms has good produce. They can deliver on time. We want it. They also find us at the farmers market. Some of them go shop at the farmers markets as well, and they see us there and they say, hey, what do you guys got coming up for the springtime? And we let them know. And it's just more of a relationship that we build with them just slowly. And they can see what we have, and they see how our produce is growing. They kind of watch our social media and just see how we're growing it as well. And it just builds a relationship over time, and we work with them. But we only work with more about 4 or 5 restaurants at a time just because we're still a small farm as well.
How long have you been farming for?
So I've been farming for almost 10 years. So 2015 was the year that we started. And it really didn't start off as I would consider myself as a farmer. It was more of an urban gardener who really wanted to just teach kids about agriculture. And that started around 2015. So our nonprofit started an urban garden program in 2015 where we had 40 raised beds on our land. And that urban garden turned into more of an urban farm around 2018, where we started finally wholesaling to a few local chefs in the area. And then we started doing farmers markets in around 2019. And then 2020, I think when COVID happened, that's when we kind of became like a real farm, I would say, where we really started having real customers come all the time. And it just really spiked up our sales and, the demand for local produce.
What is one belief you held early on that has kind of evolved the longer that you've done this for?
I think the biggest belief is that you don't need to be the biggest farm to make the biggest impact. And I'll explain that a little bit more. I don't think you have to have 100 acres to be impactful. I don't think you need 100 acres to actually sell to a lot of people. What you do is need to manage the property that you have and make sure that you're growing the right stuff. Now, everybody can grow something like a radish or something like that, but we try to grow on our farm things that can multiply over and over, so we're not replanting and stuff over. So that's going to continue to be fruitful with our plants. So things that continuously bring us produce instead of having to replant over and over. So you don't have to be the biggest to make the biggest impact.
That's such a good point. And I feel like a lot of people feel whenever they first start gardening and farming the need to do big time right off the bat. And I mean, there's a lot of challenges that can come with trying to do everything on a large scale right away. What do you think one of the best benefits of small farming is?
I think one of the best benefits of small farming is I think you get to play around with different things. You get to try new stuff before it goes super big. I think small farming also is probably in my personal opinion, it introduces customers and people to new things. A lot of times big box stores can only grow what they know is going to sell. We can take a chance and growing some things that may not be the coolest or may not be what people are used to. We can grow heirloom tomatoes where you may not see that unless it's some of your like big stores that are known for like just organic produce like Whole Foods or Sprouts or Central Market. You won't see those. And so we can introduce customers to different heirloom tomatoes. We can introduce them to a purple okra or a red kale where some places may not be, they won't put that on their shelf because they don't know if it's going to sell.
And one thing I've learned from my farmer friends is that it's really cool and important to eat things that are in season. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Definitely, it's a really important. It is important to eat things in season. Things just a lot better when you eat in season. You don't have to spray. We don't spray pesticides on our farms. When we grow kale, we plant that usually around the end of August, beginning of September. If we grow that during that time, it'll come up. And leaves be harvested around the cooler weather time, and so the bugs are less prone to actually like eat those up. And so you can just eat things in season. You can have those plants that are fresh, but they don't have to have chemicals and sprayed to keep them alive and stuff as well. Also, things taste a lot better when you eat them in season. If you ever have strawberry during strawberry season, it just tastes sweeter. If you ever have kale or collard greens or your leafy greens during the winter months, it's a lot better because the cooler weather turns the starch into the sugar, and it makes it a little bit sweeter as well too. So you're getting a better product and a better produce as well.
Oh, yeah. I definitely notice when I eat in season, I really don't have to add any like spices or anything. And it's just like I can eat it raw. It's great. So, switching lanes a little bit, there is a lot of greenwashing in agriculture today. And I want to hear from you. What does organic actually mean to you?
I think organic to me means that you're not using pesticides. You're doing the best you can with your land. You're taking care of your soil. You're putting stuff back into it that is going to help the soil health of it as well too. I think for the most part, it's just that you're giving a great product, a great produce to people without using chemicals, and you're doing the best that you can with your soil and seeds and stuff as well too.
What role do microbes, fungi, and the underground soil life play in your farm?
It plays a major part. Soil health is really if you don't have soil health, you don't have really good soil, you don't have a good farm. And so that part of making sure your soil is always great. If you don't have that, you don't have a farm to me, honestly, because you need to have good soil to grow things. And in my personal opinion, I think it takes time to even build that up. And so if I was to start a farm today, I personally think it takes about 2 to 3 years sometimes to even get that really rolling and really good.
So we see a lot of climate extremes here in Houston. We've seen frost, we've seen snow, and obviously we deal with a lot of heat and potential hurricanes over the summer. What changes have you personally witnessed on your farm that are concerning with the climate extremes? And how do you think organic farming helps with managing the changes we deal with?
The changes on our farm, I think what we do is just do the best that we can do. We pray and be like, hopefully this year is not going to be a hard year. But for the most part, we've added grow tunnels on our farm, and that's a way to kind of combat the wind a little bit in some parts. Also, if it rains too much in Houston, we can have a rainy season that can rain for 3 months at a time. Actually, like last spring was actually rainy season, and so that grow tunnel allows us to still be able to bring some kind of produce to our customers, to the elderly, and to the market and stuff as well, without being saturated and become a swamp. Because it could rain in Houston, and next thing you know, a week later, everything is just super saturated and it's starting to like mold or get soggy in the plant. And so we just do things like that. But for the most part, it's really hard to do anything different if you're doing outside farming. We don't really grow inside, which will be a game changer for a lot of people who are trying to fight climate control and still bring fresh produce. But for us, we just kind of focus on what we can do and make sure that we can at least have things in a tunnel. And that kind of helps us. But it doesn't really help us when, it's supposed to be hot outside and it's cold outside. So it's one of those things that we just try to do the best that we can and hope that this season is not going to be a harsh one.
So relatable. I feel like a lot of us are always hoping the
Yeah.
seasons aren't too harsh.
You just never know.
Yep. So, what is one hard truth about farming that you wish more people understood before romanticizing it? I think that on social media, people really try to just highlight the positives of farming. And from what I know, it is truly back-breaking work?
I think people think it's easy. They see Instagram, social media has really made it look beautiful on farms, and which our farm is beautiful as well, but it's not like that all the time. And so a lot of people think, oh, I'm a homesteader, this is going to be easy work, but they don't really show, sometimes we don't show the hard life of what it really is. Things that trees fall, cows or get loose and things like that. So I think people sometimes romanticize the idea of farming, but they don't understand the back-breaking work that it really takes. And sometimes people look at me like, you really do that? I'm like, yeah, I really do that. I really have to go pick these vegetables and I enjoy doing it. But for somebody else, they can think this is just like a really hard work. And so what we just try to do is show people that farming is real life. It can be hard sometimes, but it's very rewarding. Often sometimes people think, oh, well, you guys have 6 acres. Why don't you grow on all 6 acres? It's because that we're trying to maximize what we can do on a certain parts of land and also rotate crops as much as we can as well too.
Can you explain to people what rotating crops means?
So rotating crops is usually it just depends if you have the space to do it. Thankfully, we kind of do. If we say we plant okra, and okra usually grow from I would say June to sometimes November. We may not plant in that same spot or plot the next year. Or we may give it a break for the next 4 months until we plant again and stuff as well too. And so that rotating also kind of in a way can help you fight pests a little bit as well too, fight diseases as well too. So you kind of tricking the bugs and stuff like, okay, this was here now, but something else was here, so maybe they'll move around and go a different place. Also give your soil a little bit of a break as well too, and so you're not overdoing it. Some people say, oh, every 7 years you're supposed to give that piece of ground a break. So for us, we just try to do what we can. So if we're going to plant onions in the wintertime, we may not plant anything in those beds until the next year. Just kind of giving it a break.
That makes perfect sense to me. So, how has farming made you appreciate the environment in ways that surprise you?
I think it just shows me that this is real, like that the environment, it plays a factor. Your land is different from different places, but also this is like real life. The birds come, everything. So, realize that, hey, if I'm growing tomatoes and I don't have these netted up in the right places, that the birds may come and eat it. You may have wild rabbits. And so it really shows me that, like, hey, this is a real life. Animals are real. They see you growing great produce and they may come take it. And so I realized that, like, when you're doing things the right way, that natural things do happen.
And what are some natural ways that you deter those pesty but cute animals?
Let's see. There's a few ways we do that. We can have a natural trapping, so we'll try to trap the animals with cages. We'll put some of the things they like to do, like to eat, and we'll put those cages and we'll move them. If we do catch anything, we'll move them to different places. After that, outside of our farm, far away, we also try to do our own organic sprays that like could I guess you would say deter them from not eating certain things that could be like a spicy cayenne mix or an onion garlic mix that they don't typically like. The hardest part about that mixture is that it washes away when it rains, and so but it works pretty well inside of the grow tunnels. I found what was most efficient this year. We bought a aisle from Home Depot, which is like one of those plastic aisles that you set on the ground, and I realized that wild rabbits were eating everything except what the owl was next to it. And so it definitely did work. So things like that are natural ways to kind of keep the pest away. I also had some cameras, which is not like a natural way. So I had cameras to kind of see what is actually eating the stuff and what time are they coming. And that way I can be more efficient and try to see what are they doing around those times.
That's awesome. It sounds like farming takes a lot of planning and pre-planning for everything to work out pretty smoothly. So it's definitely not the easiest thing to do. But with that being said, what advice would you give urban and suburban gardeners in Houston who want to grow organically but feel maybe a little overwhelmed by the heat or pests or soil issues? What would be some good ways to start if it can be a little overwhelming in the beginning?
Start small. Don't just because you have an acre, you have a quarter of acre, maybe don't do the whole acre. Learn your land, learn your environment. Make sure you have your irrigation set up, which is one of the major things as well, because you can't always depend on the rain. I would just say start small and kind of focus on what you have and then learn how to grow those things really well. And then also learn what it takes to grow those things. Learn your soil, make sure you're composting or you add an extra fertilizer and stuff as well. And you add an extra mixtures that can benefit your soil. And then once you get the hang of that, move on and go expand on it a little bit more as well.
And so whenever you're getting ready for a new growth season, how do you start to plan for that?
Usually it's like just an idea in my mind. Like right now, I'm getting ready for springtime to come up, And so I'm ordering my seeds online. I'm kind of planning out what did we grow last year, what did really well. And so sometimes as a farmer, you really don't know things are going to be a hit until it's a hit. And by the time it's a hit, you can't really plant it again because the season is already about to change again. And so for us, we look at our kind of like our numbers, what was well last year, what did we grow last year that people really enjoyed, what made really a good profit, what really looks good on the farm. And sometimes things don't make a profit, but they looks good when people come visit the farm for farm tours. And so, what are those things that we can do to just kind of make our farm look nice, but also make a profit? And so, we just kind of run the numbers on that, go through our like QuickBooks and stuff, say, okay, how many deliveries did we do of this? Okay, what takes the less amount of work to do as well, too? And then what takes the most amount of work, but also provides a value product that brings in money as well, too. And so, we just kind of look at those numbers, and then I kind of go off my brain, I go off a feeling as well, too, and then how much to plant. For us, thankfully, we're not like a farm that has to be 100% for profit, but we do want to make a profit. So for us, it's more of an educational, and what we take to the market is just like a incentive to be at the market sometimes for us to sell. But we try to make money. We're trying to grow to become more a sustainable farm on our own without having our nonprofits help all the time.
Awesome. So looking ahead 10 to 20 years, what kind of gives you hope and what also worries you about the future of organic farming in Texas?
Well, that's a really good question. I think what gives me hope is I think that a lot of people are into now organic and regenerative and sustainable farming. They understand it now. I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they didn't really understand what it meant to be regenerative or sustainable or organic. Now I think people really understand that and they really want it. But what scares me is the amount of land that's available right now. It's also just really too costly to be able to start a farm and really sustain itself. The cost to start, to buy the tractor, to buy the land, to get the soil, to get the compost, to get the fertilizer, all those are just costs that are a lot unless you just have this homestead with a couple acres where you can start in your backyard and then slowly expand. But you're finding a lot of new farmers just who want people want to farm, but they don't have the space to do it. I think years ago you can find like a lot that you can lease that lot for $1 just if you take care of it. I think that's probably gone away with just the way the urban cities have moved and they're building townhomes a lot of places. So you're no longer finding these empty lots where people just happy that somebody take care of the lot for them while they pay the taxes. And so that's what scares me. But I think the hope of just people understanding that they do want organic, they do want it to be fresh, they don't want it to be sprayed. I think people really want that.
I totally agree. So, if you had to stop farming tomorrow, what lesson from the land would you carry for the rest of your life?
I think respecting the land will be something I will carry for the rest of my life. I think whatever I do now, I have a different respect for just certain things and also the people and labor and work. Labor, even if they're not paid the best, they still work really hard. And I think that gives me a chance to be a great leader because I understand what it takes. And so when I'm being a leader and stuff, it's just like I understood what you have to do to even get that product there. And so I think I just have a different respect for the land and just the environment now.
That's awesome. And now, can you share a little bit about the nonprofit you're highly involved in and what you do in Houston to help the community?
So I am one of the co-founders of the Texas Women Empowerment Foundation. We are a nonprofit that's been around for 21 years. We do community service, we do financial literacy, we give out scholarships to college students, mostly first year college students, just around the Houston area, but they go to schools all over the country. We also give out like welding scholarships, trade scholarships, and plumbing scholarships and stuff as well too. So kids that don't necessarily just want to go to college, they can also get a scholarship and different things. And that nonprofit is just something that my mom started 20 something years ago for single mothers that transformed into actually something just for the community to have and be just an asset to the community. We also have the urban garden program where we have kids come out on the farm. So Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, different groups. We do farm tours on there as well. And then we also like in the summertime we hire college students who are interested in agriculture and just want to see what it's like to be on a farm. And what they get to see is that no every farm is different and no farm is the same. And so they just go to my farm and work, but they may go somewhere else and we may do something completely different. But at the end result, are we putting out a good product? Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Chaz, we are always inspired by your work for the community and just growing good food and really taking care of our land and our soil. And would you be able to share how people can find you online and what farmers markets you can attend so they can buy your produce?
Yes, so they can find us at sweetwaterfarmshtx.com. They can find us on Instagram, sweetwaterfarmshtx. They can find us on Twitter, also on TikTok. They can find us at the Heights Farmers Market. So that's the Heights Mercantile Farmers Market every second and fourth Sunday. And they can go to our website and just find us where we kind of will be doing. And then this spring, we're going to be doing some events that are going to be really cool for people to come out and check out.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Chaz. It's so great to talk to you and see you again, and we hope to hear from you again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.